The bass was so loud it lived in her chest. Amasurwa felt the vibration climb through her heels, up her thighs, into her ribs, shaking loose every worry she'd carried into Club Oasis that Friday night. Under the spinning neon lights, pink, blue, gold, she moved like water, like fire, like a woman who had nothing left to lose. Because she didn't. 3 months behind on rent. Her mother's hospital bill sitting on her phone like a curse she couldn't delete. And here she was, 24 years old, dancing for men who threw 2 CD notes at her feet like she should be grateful. But then the music changed. Not the song, the energy. The entire club shifted. Conversations dropped mid-sentence. Heads turned toward the VIP entrance like iron pulled by a magnet. Amma kept dancing, but her eyes followed the crowd's gaze, and that's when she saw him. He walked in like he owned the air itself. Tall, dark-skinned, dressed in a white agbada so crisp it could have been sewn that morning by angels. Gold rings on every finger. A gold chain thick as a python around his neck. And his face, Lord, his face, was the kind that made women forget their own names. Sharp jaw, eyes so deep they looked like they held secrets from before time started counting. He moved through the crowd without touching anyone, yet people parted for him like the Red Sea had been given no choice. Who was that? Amma whispered to no one. Sir Kweku Zakba. Someone behind her answered, voice trembling with awe. They say he just came back from abroad. Nobody knows where. But the man has money that doesn't finish. Amma told herself to keep dancing. To focus. To not get distracted by another man who probably had 3 wives and a girlfriend in every region. But when she spun around, her eyes locked with his. And he smiled. Not the smile of a man impressed. The smile of a man who'd been searching for something and had just found it. He walked straight toward the stage, and the DJ, without being asked, lowered the music just enough. Kweku reached into the briefcase his bodyguard carried, flipped it open, and Amma's heart stopped. Stacks. Crisp dollars. Fresh sadies. More money than she'd seen in her entire life, sitting in that leather case like it was nothing. He didn't count. He didn't hesitate. He just lifted handfuls of bills and began spraying them across the stage. The club exploded. Women screamed. Men shouted his name. Money floated through the air like confetti, and Amma stood frozen in the center of it all, watching this stranger make it rain on her like she was the only person in the room. Then he climbed onto the stage. The bouncer moved to stop him, but Kweku's bodyguard raised one hand, and the bouncer stepped back like he'd been warned by something he couldn't see. Kweku walked right up to Amma, so close she could smell his cologne. Expensive, foreign, laced with something else she couldn't name. Smoke? Incense? Earth after rain? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. A diamond ring so big it caught every light in the club and threw it back like a challenge. The crowd went silent. Amma's mouth opened, but no words came. Kweku knelt down on one knee, right there on the stage, in front of 300 strangers with their phones out recording, and he said, in a voice smooth as honey and deep as a well, I've been looking for you my whole life. Say yes, and you'll never struggle again. Amma's mind screamed, you don't even know my name. But her mouth, her traitorous, desperate mouth, whispered, yes. The club erupted. People threw their drinks in the air. The DJ started playing amapiano. Kweku slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, too perfectly, like it had been made for her before she was born. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her, and the world became a blur of flashing lights, screaming voices, and the strange sensation that she'd just signed a contract she hadn't read. When he finally let her go, he whispered in her ear, pack your things tonight. I'm taking you home. Home where? Amma asked, still dizzy. To the house I bought you this morning. Her knees almost gave out. By midnight, she was sitting in the back of a black Mercedes, watching across streetlights blur past, her best friend Effia blowing up her phone with messages she couldn't bring herself to read. Kweku sat beside her, one hand resting on her thigh, the other scrolling through his phone like proposing to strangers was normal business. The driver never spoke. The bodyguard in the passenger seat never turned around. And when they pulled up to a mansion in East Legon, 3 stories, marble lions at the gate, a fountain in the front yard, Amma realized she wasn't dreaming. It's yours, Kweku said simply, handing her the keys. But how? When? I move fast when I know what I want. He kissed her forehead. Rest tonight. Tomorrow, we plan the wedding. Wedding. Amma laughed, a thin, nervous sound. We just met. And yet you said yes. His smile didn't reach his eyes. That's all I needed. He walked her to the door, but he didn't come inside. Just stood there, watching her step into the marbled foyer. And when she turned back to thank him, to ask him to stay, to question what kind of madness she'd fallen into, he was already gone. Just the Mercedes pulling away. Just the night air smelling faintly of something she couldn't name. Just Amma, standing alone in a mansion that belonged to her, wearing a ring that weighed more than her mother's medicine, wondering if she'd been blessed or cursed. Inside, her phone buzzed. A message from Effia. Amma, I'm begging you. Something about that man is not right. Please call me. Amma stared at the message, then at the ring, then at the chandelier hanging above her head, glittering like 1,000 tiny warnings she chose not to hear. She turned off her phone, and that was the first mistake. If this already grips your heart, hit like, subscribe, tell us where you're watching from. It means more than you know. The wedding happened in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Not 2 months. Not 6 months like normal people who wanted to know if their partner snored or had a secret child in Kumasi. 2 weeks. And in that time, Amma Surwa went from struggling dancer to Instagram bride, her face plastered across every blog from Accra to Atlanta, her ring photographed more than the president's new convoy. Hashtag Black Love Wins, the captions said. Hashtag African Cinderella, they cheered. Hashtag Billionaire Wedding, they screamed. But Effia wasn't cheering. She sat in Amma's new bedroom, a room bigger than the apartment they used to share, watching her friend try on her 7th wedding gown. This one flown in from Paris by a designer whose name Effia couldn't pronounce. The dress cost more than a car. The veil cost more than a semester at university. And Kweku had paid for it all in cash, delivered in a black duffel bag by his silent bodyguard who never blinked. Amma, Effia said carefully, folding her arms. Have you met his family yet? Amma adjusted the gown's train, avoiding her friend's eyes in the mirror. He said they're coming from abroad. They'll be at the wedding. From where abroad? He didn't say exactly. Germany? America? Canada? Mars. Effia's voice sharpened. Amma, you're marrying a man whose family you've never seen. A man who proposed after watching you dance for 5 minutes. A man who loves me. Amma cut in, spinning around. The gown sequins caught the light like tiny knives. A man who saw me and chose me. Not after months of testing me. Not after making me prove I'm worthy. He just chose me. Effia. Why can't you be happy for me? Effia stood up slowly. Because I love you. And love means telling you when something smells like trouble wrapped in Dior. You're jealous. The words hung in the air between them like a slap. Effia's eyes went glossy, but she didn't cry. She just picked up her purse, walked to the door, and said quietly, when this man shows you who he really is, don't say, I didn't warn you. She left, and Amma told herself it didn't matter. Effia would come around. Everyone would come around once they saw the wedding. The wedding that was going to break the internet. The wedding that would prove she wasn't just some girl from a one-room apartment in Nima anymore. The day arrived like a fever dream. Labadi Beach Hotel. 500 guests. A cake taller than Amma's father, God rest his soul. White doves. A live band flown in from Lagos. Amma wore kint so bright it hurt to look at directly, gold threading through every inch. And when she walked down the aisle, women cried. Actual tears. Her mother, frail but glowing, sat in the front row, her hospital bills finally paid, whispering prayers of gratitude. But as Amma reached the altar and looked at Kweku, devastatingly handsome in his black tuxedo, his smile calm and perfect, she noticed something. His side of the venue was full, but none of them looked related to him. She scanned the rows. Business associates, she assumed. Friends, maybe. A few older women in expensive lace who smiled politely, but never came to greet her before the ceremony. A man in the back wearing sunglasses indoors, his face unreadable. A woman with a French accent who introduced herself as Colette, an old family friend. But when Amma asked how she knew Kweku, Colette just laughed and said, oh, darling, everyone knows Kweku. No siblings. No aunties. No uncles. No parents. Where's your family? Amma whispered as the pastor opened his Bible. Kweku squeezed her hand. They couldn't make it. Last-minute emergency. All of them. His smile never wavered. All of them. The pastor began. Dearly beloved. Amma's auntie Ajoa, sitting 3 rows back, leaned over to her sister, and whispered loud enough for half the section to hear. You see? Even spirits can rent a crowd. Her sister shushed her, but the words crawled into Alma's chest anyway. The vows happened. The rings exchanged. The kiss, long, cinematic, the kind that made the videographer zoom in. And when the pastor said, I now pronounce you husband and wife, the room exploded in applause. Drums. Ululations. Someone fired a confetti cannon. Alma should have felt joy. Instead, she felt like she'd just walked through a door that locked behind her. The reception was louder. The food was perfect. The champagne flowed like a river with no source. Kweku danced with her once, his movements smooth, too smooth, like he was gliding instead of stepping. Then he excused himself. Business call, he said, kissing her cheek. I'll be back. An hour passed. Then two. Alma sat at the head table, smiling for photos, accepting congratulations, but her eyes kept searching for her husband. Finally, she saw him outside, standing near the beach, talking on the phone in a language she didn't recognize. Not Chui, not Ga, not even French or English. Something older. When he came back, his smile was back in place. Sorry, my queen. Urgent matter in Togo. I have to fly out tonight. Tonight. Alma's heart dropped. It's our wedding night. I know, and I'll make it up to you. He kissed her forehead. But business doesn't wait. I'll be back in 3 days. Enjoy the house. Enjoy your new life. He was gone before she could argue. The guests eventually left. Her mother went home in the car Kweku had bought her. The hotel staff cleaned up the doves and the cake crumbs. And Alma stood alone in her wedding gown, holding her bouquet, staring at the ocean, wondering why her husband had just abandoned her on the most important night of her life. Her phone buzzed. A message from a number she didn't recognize. Congratulations on your wedding. I was his wife too. Run while you still can. Janet, Atlanta. Alma stared at the screen until it went black. Then she deleted the message, blocked the number, and told herself it was just a jealous ex trying to ruin her happiness. But deep down, in the part of her that still remembered Effie's warning, in the part of her that noticed Kweku never ate in front of her, never showed up in any of the candid photos, never seemed to cast a shadow quite right. Deep down, she knew. Something was wrong. The mansion was too quiet. That's what Alma noticed first. Not the Italian marble floors, or the crystal chandeliers, or the kitchen bigger than her childhood home. No, it was the silence. The kind of silence that pressed against your eardrums like water. The kind that made you hold your breath without meaning to. 3 weeks had passed since the wedding. 3 weeks of waking up alone in a California king bed, eating breakfast alone at a dining table built for 12, watching TV alone in a living room that echoed. Kweku came and went like weather. Sometimes he'd appear at 2 a.m., smelling like night air and something she couldn't name, mineral, stone, and slip into bed beside her. He'd hold her, whisper sweet things in her ear, make love to her with an intensity that left her shaking. But by morning, he was always gone. Togo again, she'd asked once, standing in the closet doorway in her nightgown, watching him button a crisp white shirt at 4 a.m. Business never sleeps, my love. He'd kissed her forehead, that same spot he always kissed, like he was marking her. But look, he'd gestured to the black credit card on the nightstand. No limit. Buy anything. Go anywhere. Just be here when I come home. And what could she say? That she missed him? That the money meant nothing if she had to spend it alone? That sometimes, late at night, she'd walk through the mansion and feel like something was watching her from the walls. She said nothing. She went shopping instead. Bought handbags she'd never use. Shoes that hurt her feet. Sent money to her mother, to her cousins, to the girl who used to braid her hair in the market. She posted photos on Instagram, #blesslife, #livingmydream, and ignored Effie's messages, all 43 of them, each one begging her to call back. But tonight was different. Tonight, Kweku was home. Actually home. Sitting in the living room, watching the news, looking so devastatingly normal that Alma almost forgot the strangeness. She'd cooked jollof rice, fried plantain, grilled tilapia, determined to feel like a real wife for once. They'd eaten together, mostly in silence, and she'd noticed again that he barely touched his food, pushed it around his plate, complimented the taste, but never actually swallowed. Are you feeling okay? She'd asked. Perfect, he'd said, that smile again, the one that was too smooth, too rehearsed. Just not very hungry tonight. Now she stood in their bedroom, adjusting her silk gelly in front of the floor-length mirror, preparing for bed. The fabric was emerald green, her favorite color, and she twisted it carefully, tucking the ends just right. She'd learned from her mother. A woman's crown should always sit with dignity, even when she's falling apart inside. She tilted her head, checking the angle, and that's when she saw it. Behind her, in the mirror's reflection, stood her husband. Except it wasn't her husband. It was a python. Massive, easily 12 feet long. Its body thick as a tree trunk, scales shimmering gold and black in the bedroom light. Its head hovered where Kweku's head should be, eyes glowing amber, ancient, fixed directly on her reflection. And its tongue, forked, glistening, flicked out slowly, tasting the air, tasting her fear. Amma's scream caught in her throat, strangled by terror. She spun around. Fast, so fast the gelly nearly fell off her head, and there he was. Kweku, perfectly human, perfectly calm, standing in the same spot, wearing his silk pajama bottoms and nothing else, his chest bare, his expression concerned. Amma, he stepped forward. What's wrong? She couldn't speak. Her hand pointed at the mirror, shaking violently. I saw. Saw what? He followed her gesture, looking at the mirror, then back at her. His face showed nothing but gentle confusion, the kind a husband might show when his wife has a bad dream. Baby, you're trembling. Come, sit down. No. The word came out sharp. Amma backed away, her spine hitting the dresser. Don't touch me. His hands dropped. For a moment, just a flash, so quick she almost missed it, something changed in his eyes. Something cold. Something that had been waiting beneath the surface like a crocodile beneath river water. Then it was gone, and he was Kweku again, hurt and worried. Amma, please. You're scaring me. What did you think you saw? A snake. Her voice cracked. I saw a snake in the mirror. Where you were standing. He laughed. Actually laughed, soft and warm, like she'd just told the sweetest joke. A snake? Love, you've been watching too many Ghanaian movies. The ones where every rich man is a demon. He moved toward her slowly, hands raised like she was a frightened animal. I'm right here. Look at me. Touch me. I'm real. But Amma couldn't move. Because in the mirror behind him, she could see it again. The python, coiled where his legs should be. Its golden eyes locked onto hers, unblinking. She looked at Kweku directly. Human. Looked at the mirror. Python. Human. Python. Human. Python. Her mind screamed. Amma. His voice dropped lower, losing its warmth. Stop looking at the mirror. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. And in that moment, every warning crashed down on her at once. Effie is pleading. The message from Atlanta. Auntie Ajoa's whisper about spirits. The way Kweku never appeared in photos properly. Always blurred. Always facing away. The way he never ate. Never slept. Never cast the right kind of shadow. What are you? She whispered. Kweku tilted his head, and for the first time since she'd met him, his smile looked real. Genuinely real. Sharp. Ancient. Amused. I'm your husband, he said simply. Then he took one step forward. And vanished. Not walked away. Not left the room. Vanished. Like smoke. Like he'd never been there at all. The bedroom door was still closed. The window still locked. But Kweku was gone, and Amma stood alone, staring at the empty space where he'd been, her reflection in the mirror now solitary, her gelly crooked, her face drained of color. She ran, down the stairs, through the marble foyer, her bare feet slapping against cold stone. She threw open the front door, expecting guards, expecting the Mercedes, expecting something. The driveway was empty. No car. No bodyguard. No sign anyone had ever been there. Just the fountain, running endlessly, and the night air thick with the smell of something old and earthen. The smell she'd been smelling since the day they met. The smell of a snake's den. Amma's knees gave out. She collapsed on the front steps, shaking, crying, pulling her phone from her robe pocket with trembling fingers. She called Effia. It rang once. Twice. Amma. Effia's voice came through, sharp with worry and relief, and I told you so. She was kind enough not to say. Amma, where are you? I need help, Amma sobbed. Please. I think I married something that isn't human. There was a pause. Then Effia's voice, steady and sure. I'm coming. Don't move. And Amma. Yes. Whatever you do, don't look in any more mirrors tonight. The line went dead. And somewhere in the darkness of the mansion behind her, Amma heard it. A hiss. Effia arrived with a man who smelled like burning sage and looked like he'd seen things that would make grown men weep. His name was Nana Kofi, a spiritualist from Kumasi who wore white from head to toe and carried a leather bag that rattled with things Amma didn't want to identify. Effia had called him the moment she hung up, and he'd driven 3 hours through the night without asking questions. That's how you knew someone was real. They didn't need your story to know you were in trouble. They found Amma still sitting on the front steps, her silk robe soaked with dew, her eyes hollowed out from crying. The mansion loomed behind her like a mouth waiting to swallow her whole. "Come," Nana Kofi said gently, extending a wrinkled hand. "Let's go inside. Whatever is in there cannot harm you while I'm present." Amma shook her head violently. "I'm not going back in there." "Then it wins," he said simply. "And you become another story women whisper about in the market." That did it. Amma stood. They entered together, Effia gripping her hand, Nana Kofi walking ahead, murmuring prayers in Twi that seemed to push the silence back. The mansion felt different now. Colder. The chandelier lights flickered even though the power was fine. Shadows stretched longer than they should. "Show me where you saw him," Nana Kofi said. Amma led them upstairs to the bedroom, her legs shaking with every step. The mirror still stood against the wall, massive and gilded, reflecting the room in perfect clarity. She pointed at it, but couldn't look. Nana Kofi approached slowly, studying the mirror like it was a living thing. He pulled a small vial from his bag, uncorked it, and sprinkled something, water? Oil, across the glass. It sizzled. Actually sizzled, like acid on metal. "A sace, yeah?" he whispered, invoking the earth goddess. "Show us the truth." The mirror rippled, and then, like a curtain being pulled back, they saw it. Not Kweku, not anymore, but a python, coiled in the corner of the bedroom ceiling, watching them with eyes that glowed like molten gold. Its scales shimmered with an unnatural light, and around its neck, impossible, but there, was the same gold chain Kweku always wore. Effia gasped. Amma's knees buckled, but Nana Kofi just nodded, like this confirmed what he already knew. "Unyame," he breathed. "A spirit husband. One of the old ones." "Eh what?" Amma's voice came out broken. "A spirit that takes human form to marry mortal women. They are not evil by nature, but they are possessive, jealous. They choose a woman, bind her with wealth and beauty, and keep her isolated until..." He trailed off. "Until what?" Effia demanded. "Until she belongs to them completely. Body, mind, soul. And then, when the binding is complete, they take her to their realm beneath the earth." He turned to Amma, his eyes sad but steady. "How long have you been married?" 3 weeks. "Then there's still time. The binding takes 40 days. After that..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Amma's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out with shaking hands. A message from an unknown number, but this time she read it. "My name is Janet Williams. I'm texting from Atlanta. I was married to Kweku Zakpa 7 years ago. He's not human. I escaped on day 39. There are 12 of us in a group chat, all his former wives. We've been trying to warn you since the wedding. Please, if you're reading this, there's a room in the mansion. Locked. 3rd floor, east wing. Find it." Amma looked up at Nana Kofi. "There's a locked room." His expression darkened. "Show me." They climbed to the 3rd floor, a level Amma had never explored because Kweku had told her it was under renovation. The hallway stretched long and dim, doors on either side, but at the very end, one door stood out. Black wood, no handle, and carved into it were symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them too long. Nana Kofi pressed his palm against the door. It swung open. The smell hit them first. Jasmine and decay. Then they saw the walls. Photographs. Dozens of them. Maybe 100. All different women. All beautiful. All black. All wearing wedding dresses and the same glowing diamond ring Amma wore on her finger right now. Beneath each photo, a name and a date. Abina Mensa, 2008. Yas Santawa, 2011. Janet Williams, 2017. Kayamaka Okafor, 2019. And at the very end, still blank, a frame waiting. Just a date written beneath it in fresh ink. Amma Surwa, 2024. Effia covered her mouth. Amma felt the room spin. "Where are they?" she whispered. "Where are all these women?" Nana Kofi pointed to the floor. And that's when Amma noticed the markings. A circle drawn in something that looked like dried blood, and in the center, a trapdoor. "Below," he said quietly. In his realm, before anyone could move, the lights went out. The hissing started, not from one direction, but everywhere, surrounding them, crawling through the walls. And then, in the darkness, Kweku's voice. You shouldn't have come here, Alma. The lights flickered back on. He stood in the doorway, blocking their exit, but he wasn't trying to hide anymore. His form shifted between man and serpent, like a signal struggling to stay tuned. One moment, the handsome billionaire. The next, the ancient python. Back and forth, back and forth. You were different, he said, and there was genuine sorrow in his voice. I chose you because you were strong. Because you reminded me of the first woman I loved, 500 years ago. I thought you'd be happy. I gave you everything. You gave me a cage made of gold, Alma said, her voice steadier than she felt. And you would have learned to love it. They all do. His eyes, human and serpent at once, fixed on her. But now you've seen, and I can't let you leave. Nana Kofi stepped forward, pulling something from his bag. A blade. Curved. Ancient. Carved with the same symbols from the door. She is not yours, he said firmly. By the power of Asais Ya, by the covenant of the living earth, I sever this binding. He grabbed Alma's hand, and with one swift motion, cut the ring from her finger. The diamond hit the floor and shattered into dust. Kweku screamed. Not a human scream. The shriek of something old and wounded, a sound that shook the walls and shattered the photographs on the wall. His form collapsed fully into the python, massive and furious, lunging toward them. But Nana Kofi was faster. He threw powder, blessed salt, grave dirt, something, directly into the serpent's eyes and shouted words in a language older than Ghana, older than empires, old as the earth itself. The python writhed, hissing, shrinking, pulled backward by an invisible force. It tried to fight, tried to hold on to this realm, but the binding was broken. Without the ring, without Alma's consent, it had no anchor. Go, Nana Kofi shouted. They ran. Alma, Effia, stumbling down the stairs, through the foyer, out into the night air that suddenly smelled like freedom. Behind them, the mansion shuddered. Lights exploded. Windows cracked. And then, with a sound like thunder swallowed backwards, the entire building collapsed inward, folding into itself like paper, like it had never been real at all. When the dust settled, there was nothing. Just an empty lot. Overgrown grass. No mansion. No fountain. No gate. Like it had all been a dream. Except Alma's phone buzzed. A message in a group chat labeled, Kweku Survivors. 12 women. 12 names. 12 profile pictures of beautiful black faces from across the world. Atlanta, London, Toronto, Johannesburg, Kingston. Janet Williams. Welcome to the other side, sister. You made it out. Kayamaka Okafor, day 21. You're the fastest one yet. Yeah, Santawa. We're here if you need us. All of us. Alma stared at the messages, at these women who'd walked her path, who'd survived what she'd survived. Tears streamed down her face, but this time, they weren't from fear. They were from relief. Effia wrapped her arms around her. Let's go home. Where's home? Alma asked. Anywhere he isn't. 3 months later, Alma sat in a small apartment in OSU, 1 bedroom, decent Wi-Fi, no marble floors. She'd started dancing again, but this time in a studio she co-owned with Effia, teaching young girls who needed to learn that their worth wasn't measured in sadies or dollars or rings that glowed. Her phone buzzed. The group chat. Janet Williams, hosting a meetup in Accra next month. Survivors brunch. You in? Alma smiled and typed, I'll bring the jollof. That night, she looked in the mirror, really looked, and saw only herself. No shadows. No serpents. No spirit husband lurking in the reflection. Just Alma Serwa. Survived. Unbound. Free. And when she turned off the light and climbed into bed, she slept without fear for the first time in months, knowing that some chains, no matter how golden, were always meant to be broken. When jealousy wears a crown and wealth whispers promises, remember, not every gift is a blessing, and not every love is human. Alma's story reminds us that the most dangerous prisons are the ones that look like palaces, and the bravest thing a woman can do is walk away from what glitters when her spirit says run. Across Africa and the diaspora, from Accra to Atlanta, from Lagos to London, women have always known. Trust your intuition, honor your friendships, and never, ever ignore the warnings whispered by those who love you? Because sometimes the mirror shows us what our hearts are too blinded to see. If this story touched your soul, gripped your heart, or reminded you to trust that voice inside that says something isn't right, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more true African stories that honor our resilience, our wisdom, and the unbreakable bonds between sisters who refuse to let each other fall. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Have you ever ignored a warning you wish you'd heeded? Let's build a community where we protect each other, one story at a time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more true African stories that touch the soul.